Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's Tumbler tutorial. We're starting out with a 20-ounce thick from MakerFlo Crafts, and this will be a easy and fast tumbler. I'm going to do a 3-way split, so I will be measuring out each of my sections. At the top, 3.5 inches, the center, 1 inch, and then the remaining being the bottom, which was roughly another 3.5 inches. To create the easy split here, I'm just using a 1-inch painter's tape to divide the top from the bottom so that we can get to paint and glitter. The 2 vinyls and the main decal shown at the beginning of this video all are clear backed, and those require a lighter background for them to show up. So we're going to start off at the top here with some white chalk paint. Here at the bottom, I'm just doing a custom little mix of a light peach shade. I believe I used off-white and some orange to create this color. As much as I would love to spray paint the majority of my tumblers, this time of the year that is not the easiest for me, as I do live in Maine and it is cold, brutally cold. During the winters, we also get quite a bit of snow, and with that, it is just not very suitable for spray paint during this time. I'm going to quickly dry these first coats with my heat gun and then go in with a secondary coat starting with the white. This time mixed with glitter glue. Now I did use Mod Podge for this tumbler. I do not typically use Mod Podge, and boy does that stuff dry extremely fast. For this second coat, I am going relatively heavy-handed, as I am trying to avoid, and I did avoid, doing a secondary coat of glitter. I prefer 1 coat of glitter over 2 unless it's absolutely necessary. For the first glitter applied at the top, this is Cheater by PDB Creative Studio. It is not only a white glitter, but it also has pink little flecks in it as well, which is perfect for this tumbler design. For the bottom second coat, I am going even more heavy-handed than I did for the white, and that's because the glitter coming next is a chunky glitter mix. For this bottom portion, I am going in with Chiffon from ChaseRae Glitters. Once applied, I will then be pressing down any pokey bits with some parchment paper just to ensure everything is smooth. I did pay special attention here at the bottom with my finger, and now I'm going to remove the painter's tape before everything is completely dry. For the middle section, I'm going to do another custom mix of a baby pink and orange. At the beginning, I showed 3 glitters: Cheater, Chiffon, and Citrus Sunrise. While I did use cheater and I did use chiffon, I decided for this middle section that I would go in and utilize a custom mix. I have a drawer filled with little like condiment type covered cups that I put my leftover mixes in, and I had this really pretty pink color already mixed. I apologize, I have no idea what glitters are in it, but then I thought, what about adding an orange to it? So then I went with Upbeat, which is by ChaseRae Glitters, to come up with this peachy pink tone to put into the center area here. As beautiful as Citrus Sunrise is, unfortunately, it would have been way too dark for the clear backed vinyl, so I'm definitely glad that I decided to do a lighter tone going into this step. So here is the little condiment cup I was talking about with the pink mix I already have put together, and then Upbeat by ChaseRae Glitters. As always, I measured this mix with my heart. I often find myself making a lot of custom mixes, so if you would like me to start measuring those mixes and giving you the information on what's in each mix, I would be glad to start putting that information out there, and then at least I would know going forward when I use a leftover mix what's actually in it. Once all 3 sections were glittered, I did go in and seal each section one by one with a 50-50 mix of glitter, glue, and water. I did let that sit overnight, and then I went in with my first coat of epoxy, which was 30 ml of Flynn Sisters Fast Cure Epoxy. After about 3.5 hours, I went in with another 15 ml of Flynn Sisters Fast Cure Epoxy to ensure the cup was smooth. Using clear vinyl, you do want to ensure that your tumbler is not only smooth but also shiny, and so I only sanded the rim on this tumbler. I am adding painter's tape at the top, and that is just to mark off the 2 halfway points so that I have them going further into the design. With the glitter and epoxy applied, my tumbler was 11.25 inches in circumference, making each half 5.625 inches each, and that's where I marked everything off. So I marked off at the 0 and then again at the 5.625 mark, and that gave me my 2 halves. This first vinyl is a script that says love, and I am going to cut out 2 separate sections of this. The first section is to be wrapped around that center peach ring. And the second strip is just to give me some to work with in order to help make it more of a seamless all the way around the tumbler pattern. Both of these vinyls are from Crescent Butterfly Designs. I will have her linked in my description, but you also can find her right on TikTok. That second pattern I did cut out at 2.75 inches. Using the hinge method, I applied this thin strip around or in the center of the peach section of the tumbler. I allowed everything to overlap in the end so that I could cut a certain portion out, the overlapped section, and apply a full portion of the love in that area so it looked more seamless. Here I am lining up one line of what I'm going to apply to the line that is already applied of this design, and then I'm just going to wrap around and then slice off where the two vinyls now meet. I want to ensure I have zero overlapping of this clear vinyl, but that I have that seamless look around the tumbler itself. With any clear vinyls or decals, be sure to press down firmly on the edges and or the seams. That way when you go in with your epoxy, you won't be able to see any of the area of where it starts or stops. I'm going in with another clear vinyl for the bottom section of this tumbler. With all clear vinyls and or decals, it is important that we don't touch the backing or the sticky portion, as it will pick up our fingerprints and those will show in the final design. To ensure I have no overlapping of clear vinyl, I am going to cut right where the two match up. Again, we're going to press firmly just to ensure we see no edges when we go in with epoxy. I found this Love Gnome image on Creative Fabrica and printed it out on clear vinyl. I'm using the pencil mark that I placed on that painter's tape at the very top as my center point for this decal. I'm going in with my X-Acto knife to pop any bubbles, but I prefer to stay on any line of the image or pattern just to help kind of camouflage any of those cut marks. I also found this cute bow on Creative Fabrica which did match the gnome image, and I'm going to place that on the opposite side of the tumbler using the pencil mark as my halfway point for the application. I carefully lifted up a small portion of the backing of this bow so that I could adhere that down and then press the remainder on with my squeegee. To fill in the white sections, I went in with some little hearts that also matched the main image. I'm going to show the application of, I believe, 3 of these hearts. I left little tails on each of them so that I could peel the backing, touch that tail portion only, press down the heart to the tumbler, and then using my craft knife, I cut that tail away so that I left no fingerprints. This clip is slowed down drastically, and it's because I've wanted to show how I decide the thickness of my pinstripes. When I first started this journey, it was a lot of trial and error, and I just wanted a cheat sheet, and so I created one that starts at 0.04 and goes all the way to 0.20, and it allows me to set them against my design to decide the correct size, or the size I would prefer. So for this tumbler, I went with 2 different colors, a soft pink and then a shimmery red. Both of these vinyls are from TeckWrapCraft. The first vinyl I'm laying down here is cut at 11.5 inches wide by 0.20 inches in height. And the red that I will be applying, I cut at 11.5 inches wide by 0.08 inches in height. Instead of cutting out this right here, I decided to leave it in, but as I've stated many times, I am not that great at pinstriping, which is why I absolutely love my striping tape. However, I did not use it on this tumbler. So I'm going to leave this clip in, and then you'll be able to see what I do in just a little bit here, because nothing is straight, and in my opinion, I don't like how it looks at all, and I needed to fix it. I always plan ahead and cut more pinstripes that I actually need for a tumbler. However, I print my pinstripes as I need them. I never cut full sheets, and the reason for that is because I always like using different sizes, like I showed with my little cheat sheet. Even though I was not happy with this stripe that I'm adding the red to here, I did decide to go ahead and add the red and proceed on to the next one down. And then I take a good look at the tumbler and decide I need to do something. I need to change the way that it looks. I am very hard on myself. I probably see things others would not notice sometimes, but that's just how I am. I am a perfectionist. Art is not meant to be perfect. Give yourself grace, please, because it can be very stressful to be hard on yourself and do things like this. Cut it and take it all off and start over again. I'm going to give it another go and really just hope for the best. Now, when I started applying the pinstripes to this tumbler, I was using a different cup cradle. Then I switched to this cup cradle, which actually allows the cup to roll, which does definitely help with pinstripe application. The first cup cradle I was using is more of like a silicone or rubber texture, and it does not allow your cup to move freely at all, which in my opinion makes it a lot harder to apply those pinstripes. Moving on to the bottom, I found another image that matched all the other images on the tumbler and decided to add that onto the bottom. With my business name, I decided to cut it in two parts, making a half circle for the top and a half circle for the bottom. I apologize that it's not completely in frame, but I did need to kind of tilt the tumbler towards me so that I could see how I was actually applying it. I did use the print to cut feature for all the images on this tumbler. However, I only actually printed the images through my Cricut, and then I decided to cut each of them by hand. Once these last few hearts were applied, I did go in with a coat of fast cure epoxy, which was 30 mLs. This cup still needs its last and final coat of Artist Cure epoxy, but first it needs a heavy sand around the rim as it has a little bit of bulging going on that I need to rectify. With that said, for this week, this tumbler is all done. If you liked this week's tutorial, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more of my content and be notified when I upload something new, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell button. Thank you, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.